Hey guys, so I wanted to respond to another comment that kind of definitely relates to the video that I made yesterday about mentally skating through the end of the world. I wanted to respond to this comment as best as I can. The comment is, could you please talk about manifesting when you're full of fear and in survival mode? So yes, I can talk about that. I can and I will. And I want to first just say that the rest of the comment is, I appreciate the manifesting in SP, but honestly, when you're trying to survive, all that's irrelevant. And I wanted to say to you, you're already a step ahead of a lot of people because you have your priorities straight, I think. Yeah, you shouldn't probably be spending a lot of your time worrying about a relationship with somebody if you determine, if your assessment is that your life is in a state where you need to be concerned about survival. That assessment could be spot on for you. It might not be. I think it's always a good idea to stop and consider whether or not things are really as dire as you think they are. I mean, if you are imminently facing eviction, homelessness, and I mean like it's happening like tomorrow, that's a different story than if you are living to paycheck and racking up credit card bills, which is also a very dire situation that a lot of people are in. And that's different from, I'm living in a far less than ideal situation, but I have money. And of course, I'm assuming that when you say survival mode, survival is like, I don't have any resources. I'm assuming that, that's what you're referencing. If you're like in a war-torn city in the bottom of, in the basement of a blown out building, survival mode, that's obviously different. If you're in survival mode for your own personal safety, I really think, the way out of that is you have to just sort of have an overall sense of certainty. I mean, this is the answer to all of it, but you have to have an overall sense of certainty that you're going to get out of it and start, looking for the way out. And, that's the best I can do for an emergency type of situation. I think when you're presented with an imminent emergency, the best thing you can do is try to keep your head about you as much as you can. I read this book last year that was really, really interesting, which of course I can't come up with the title or the author of. I will look for it and link to it below. It's very interesting, though. It was about who survives in emergency situations and why. It was one of the most interesting books I've ever read. So I will link to that below. But I don't think that's what this commenter is talking about. This commenter, I believe, is talking about, I don't have the resources I need, to live, to comfortably live and feel safe and all that. So, here's the thing. When you're full of fear and in survival mode, you are existing at the most, base level of scarcity that there is. And, for a lot of people, that is a motivating place that gets them into action, and that action changes things. And so I want to approach it from that place. If you can't think your way out of the feeling of fear and being in survival mode, I think what you need to do is, first of all, read the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. It's free, it's online, and you can do it today. And if you're not working 80 hours a week, then you have time to do that. But the reason I'm telling you to read it is because I'm about to reference Wallace Wattles' concept of the certain way. Wallace Wattles says in his book, and I have experienced this firsthand in the last couple decades since I read it and started employing it in my own life. What you do in order to bring about a different future is to know what that thing is that you want, and then every action you take throughout the day, related or otherwise, you do with a sense of certainty that the future you're imagining is coming about, that it is being created, that it's happening, it's already in action. And so if you're coming at your life that is in this very dire place from a manifesting perspective, you have to acknowledge that you can't stay in that state of scarcity. You have to move into a state of certainty. And what I think you need to do in order to help yourself get into this state, because it's really hard from a state of anxiety to move anywhere else. Maybe going to bed disrupts it, but then you wake up and something's in your face, and it just happens almost immediately that you just slip back into that. What I think you need to do is you need to make a plan for yourself as best as you can from where you are right now. And you need to start taking as much action as you can while keeping in mind this concept of the certain way, and keeping in mind where you're trying to go. And you need to do as much as you can permeated with this feeling of certainty, or at least understanding that what you're trying to do is move into that place of certainty. Do you have to do anything to make a manifestation happen? No, technically you don't. And I personally have multiple examples of things manifesting without me doing anything. So I don't want anybody ever to take my words to mean that you must do something in order to manifest something. The thing is, though, often you are a part of the manifestation. You are used as part of the manifestation. And the other thing is, taking action creates conviction in you. So this isn't exactly like the straight manifesting route. This is sort of like a hybrid. This is how you would always do. If you didn't know anything about manifesting, you would either languish in this situation of having nothing, or you would eventually say, I got to get off my ass and do everything I can to fix this situation, or something in between. But to get out of it, if you're ever going to get out of it, if you didn't know anything about manifesting, you would probably just do everything you could, and hopefully it would work. Hopefully you would slip into a feeling of confidence and start to have positive expectancy, and then you would start to generate this bridge of incidents out of it. I hope any of this is making any sense. So I think that when you're stuck sort of in this very base earth scarcity, I have no resources, I'm going to die, I'm going to be living in my car. I think when you're in that state, although it is very paralyzing, you have to just do the opposite. You can't give in to that paralysis. You need to look at the way you would normally look at the world and how do I resolve this problem, and start doing all of those things while at the same time keeping these concepts, these manifesting concepts in mind. You might only have to do that for like a day or two before you start to pop out of it, before maybe some little tidbit happens. You start to see some signs of life, and then you're able to just thrust yourself fully into this mentality, and then things get a little easier. But this major, huge, giant action, like I'm going to do every freaking thing I can, that tends to bring about a little bit of a sense of relief that you are moving in the direction of getting out of the situation. Action creates conviction. So if you don't have conviction about something, and you're not seemingly able to generate that conviction mentally, then you do stuff. And it's not even like the stuff you do is necessarily going to produce the outcome. It's not even like what you do is even necessarily going to generate anything productive. It's not about that. The doing isn't about generating the end result. It's, even though, often it does also. It's not about that. It's about moving you mentally out of the place of being in fear and survival mode. And this is the best advice I have. It really is. I mean, there's a lot of advice out there about, imagination and all of that stuff. And unfortunately, for some people, it's just the right thing. For some, I think a very minuscule number of people, you absolutely get like, I don't know, you're naturally tuned to just sort of pop out of wherever you are and into a different state. And that's great. That's absolutely great. And it does happen. But I think whether or not that's you. Has that happened for you? Like, I mean, you can go watch some of these more bubblegum mainstream manifesting channels and do what they say and see if it works for you. Because if it does, you definitely don't need to take this route. But for me, when I am in this state, and I do pop into this state of mind, something like not survival mode, but I get into state of being overwhelmed and anxious about certain things, and the immediate like urge is to like withdraw, like hide, like go like avoid, withdraw. But that urge doesn't make anything any better. That's what I've learned. It doesn't make anything any better. What works for me, my mantra up to the date that I was 40, and I try not to think this way anymore, but it just works so well for me. It's hard for me not to. I had a mantra throughout my my late 20s and all of my 30s. I would just tell myself, anytime I got to that place, the only way out of a bad situation is hard work. And I would just get to work immediately. And it's amazing how I'm talking like half a day of just buckling down and getting shit done, digs you out of a situation that causes this anxiety, and then you're on the other side of it mentally, and that feeling of anxiety goes away. Whereas, in my early 20s, in those situations, I would withdraw. Everything would continue to pile up. In my withdrawal, I'd be doing nothing productive. I would have less money. It was bad for me. It didn't make the mental situation any better. It just made it worse because everything was getting worse. And finally, I just realized this is never an option again. I'm never doing this again. I'm literally never checking out of life and playing, at the time, it was like 2002. I'm not playing 70 games of literati on Yahoo Games and checking out entirely from my life for like 3 days, because I just come out on the other side and everything is like 100 times worse. So, when you're like thinking about manifesting and creating your world and your reality coming from you and all of that, it's weird how it's talked about like it's a one size fits all. Like, if you just do this thing, then this thing will happen. If the world is your reflection, then no, some little trick isn't gonna solve all of your problems, unless you're somehow some person who's just so doesn't give a shit about anything that you can just adopt an entirely different mentality. And I don't know, maybe that works for like sociopaths or something. I really don't know. I'm being honest. For me, the way things have been able to be created manifestationally, in the way people like to use it, meaning mostly mentally, mostly with no effort in the outer world, mostly without lifting a finger. Those are all things where there's not a bunch of hang-ups about it. There's not a bunch of anxiety about it. It's not, something that I feel like I've got a big stranglehold on. When that, I've talked on here a lot about like getting to the point with something you really want, where you see it for what it really is. It's not this big thing. It's like brought down to earth. And then you're more like, oh, okay, well, I'd still like to have that, but it's not some, life or death situation. It's not going to bring me the meaning and happiness that I've been imagining it would. When you get to that point with something, it becomes very easy to manifest it, because it's just a thing. Everything is just a thing. You have given everything all the meaning it has. Everything. It's true. So, those are the things that are really easy. But when it comes to like these things where you're just like bound up in anxiety, any way that you can move yourself out of that mentality, do it. Whatever you have to do that isn't going to make the situation worse. Going on vacation for a week, during that time, maybe you won't feel that way. But if you're somehow able to not think about it and you get back and from your vacation, all your problems are still waiting there, now they're just a week worse. So honestly, for survival mode, a lot of normie advice is probably what you should do, because if you're in that position, the most vital thing is to get out of it. So like always, you do the typical normie stuff, but you do it with a different attitude. People can put in like weeks of hard work on something, and if they're coming at it from the wrong attitude, they're going to be working on the wrong thing, and it's not going to produce anything. I've seen this firsthand with people that are close to me who were coming at money from a desperate point, viewing money as something that it's not, and just doing this hamster wheel of work on stuff that was like clearly to me not going to produce any result. And it didn't. And I've just, you have to, I think, try to come at things with this attitude of peace and certainty. So, I mean, the short answer to the question is you've got to get out of the mental state of fear and anxiety. That's key. If you're coming at this from a manifestational standpoint, that's the answer. You've got to get out of that mentality. And my solution to that is go do everything you can with a different mentality as much as possible. And I think as you work on it, as you do stuff, you'll start to shift how you're feeling about it a little bit. But I mean, if you're doing stuff with the thought of this is never going to work, everybody around me is in the same situation and everything is only getting worse, if you're observing things like that, which I think a lot of people are doing these days, it's like, if you're a part of a demographic that everybody is saying this is only going to get worse. By the way, somebody else emailed me yesterday. I hope you're watching this. Somebody else emailed me about how they're in like a good job position, but it's kind of vague. I wasn't really sure exactly what they were asking, but like, it seems like things are going to get worse. You're an individual, and the idea here is to step into the creator role. And you should understand I think first and foremost, that you are not bound by anything happening out here. Like, you are not doomed or destined to have the same result as anybody else, even if they have the same skin color as you, even if they're in the same socioeconomic group as you, even if they're in the same profession as you. Another Wallace Wattles. It's such a great book. Please listen to that commentary and audio that I made a couple years ago. It's free. The link is in the description, always, on every video. Wallace Wattles basically says 2 men living in the same environment, like the same neighborhood, who are in the same business, if one gets rich and the other one is poor, obviously it's because one of them is doing things in the certain way. And this is really the key to everything. If you're looking around at your, profession and thinking this is going to be gone soon, well, I guess the logical conclusion that you come to is, well, then I'm going to be screwed and I'm going to be, broke and out of work. I mean, come on, you've got to think differently than that. You've got to think from the creative plane. You'll move into some other thing then. You will, something will be created for you. You're not doomed or destined to have the same outcome, even if everybody else, even if that happens to 99% of your peer group, you're going to be in the 1% that has a different experience because you're living mentally a different experience. You have a different mentality towards this. I mean, I don't know what else you can do in this life besides embrace these concepts. I really don't. I don't know what else you can do. I don't feel, like I just said, about how I would withdraw from life and play 70 games of literati, which is Scrabble, by the way. Yahoo Scrabble. Yahoo Games was amazing and now it's gone. Manifest bringing back Yahoo Games. Like I was saying, checking out, eventually I just came to the conclusion, this doesn't make any sense to ever make this decision again. And I hope that everybody watching this channel will eventually come to the point where they say, it doesn't make any sense for me to ever view the world in the terms I've been viewing it up until I started entertaining the concept that I am creating this. It doesn't make any sense to ever entertain any of those ideas ever again. That there is finite resources, that this is all random, that I'm just here to get bounced around like a ping pong ball. It doesn't make any sense to ever operate from that level again, regardless of the truth of any of this. If you come at your life from these attitudes with this sort of intention, you will have a much better life, period. Who cares if any of this is true? Who cares if it's all bullshit? If it's going to produce you having a better life, who cares? All right, and that is my message for this morning. So, I'm on, so how long have I said I think I just completed my first month of making a video every morning. Did I say I was going to talk about something else? I don't know. But anyway, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying making these videos every day because it's really good. If I'm not talking about this stuff every day, I can sort of float off into la la land, into other areas of my life and the world for long periods of time. And it's nice to, it's kind of like when I was saying I decided I didn't really want to bust loose. Yesterday on my video, I was saying I decided I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to get into the drama of the world. Like, I can do that and it's sort of fun, but I think it's time for me to move out of that semi-permanently. And having this channel and making these videos and talking about this stuff, like, I'm really just talking to myself here. I don't know anybody who's watching this, so it's really for me more than anything. And it keeps me centered in the right place. So I'm going to keep doing it. Maybe forever. Anyway, I hope you have a good day today. Truly. And for those of you in survival mode, try to take a break from that today. Like, I don't care how bad the situation is. You can take 2 hours to, like, go outside. Maybe not if you live in the Midwest or in the Chicago area, but you can take time to, like, just pet your dog or just go for a walk and don't think about it. Listen to some music, like something. Break up that nonstop feeling of anxiety and just start moving out of it. Just start moving out of it mentally. Maybe you can imagine the worst case scenario and just get okay with it. You know? Maybe you can start to apply some really deep spiritual things to your worst case outcome. That, hey, we're all okay. You know, this is just an experience. Whatever you've got to do to get out of that state, you can't really manifest anything good from survival mode. And if you do manifest something good from survival mode, it didn't come from the survival mode that you're in. So, I don't know. Anyway, have a great day.